Hello little berries, Airy Berry here. I thought it was about time for an anecdote, and to be honest I was struggling to find one because my life's a bit boring and quite a lot of the things that I can talk about I won't talk about because they're too personal, they involve other people. But something made me remember, oh yeah, I wrote my first car off after 3.5 weeks. And if you ain't interested in something like this, then don't watch. I passed my driving test in April 2005 when I was 21. I couldn't afford a car at the time. I was working a part-time job. About a month after I passed my test, the place at which I was working got shut down one evening while I was working there on a shift. Just at the end of the shift, 2 bailiffs turn up and shut the place down. We didn't get our P45s, we didn't get 2 weeks worth of wages, we didn't get any redundancy money, nothing. The whole place just went, and the owners of the business just did a disappearing act. I decided to join an agency and see if I can get some temp work. They said that there were some vacancies at a local insurance company, and could they put me down for it, for a group interview sort of thing, or just go along for a day and learn about the company. And I did. I got an interview, did really well. Within an hour of that interview, I got a call from the agency saying I got the job, and I started working there in the August that year. Technically, I was employed by the agencies, so I couldn't earn any commission on anything that I sold until I was taken on permanently. And I was supposed to only be an agency temp for 3 months, but it went on for 4.5 months. By the turn of the year into 2006, I was taken on permanently by that company, and I still work for that company to this day. I've been working there permanently now nearly 15 years. And upon leaving the agency, I got a bonus from them. I also, that following month, got my first commission, and my hourly rate had increased as well. So I got a really decent pay packet, and I thought, do you know what? I really want a car. I want that independence. I just turned 22. I often used to frequent a nightclub, a LGBT nightclub, in a city that's about 30 miles away from my hometown. And I really wanted to go there as often as I could, but I could very rarely get a lift, especially from people who didn't drink, because I was always very anxious about getting in cars with people who didn't drink. And so I thought, if I get my own car, I will be fine, and I can take other people as well, because I was teetotal, so I could take people safely to and from their houses, which was good. And so I went to a local Vauxhall dealer, and the reason why I went to a local Vauxhall dealer is because I learned to drive in a Vauxhall. I'm not someone who's very adventurous when it comes to cars. The first car I ever learnt to drive when I was 19 was a Vauxhall Astra. And after my 4th lesson, because my mum paid for my first 10 lessons, my instructor, without telling me, changed his car to a Ford Fusion. And the Ford Fusion drove completely different to the Vauxhall Astra. I hated it. I absolutely hated the Ford Fusion. And also, that driving instructor was shit. He was a bit shit. On my 10th lesson, he didn't turn up. And I phoned him and I said, look, where are you? And he said, oh, the girlfriend said that you phoned and cancelled your lesson. And I said, no, I've been waiting here for you. He went, oh, she said that you called and cancelled. She said, Erin called and cancelled. No. And I don't believe a word of that, because I didn't make that phone call. I was waiting for him. And if I'd phoned and cancelled, I would have expected him to have called me back and just said, can we rearrange? So I didn't use him again. I didn't actually have my 10th lesson. And about 1.5 years later, I was able to afford lessons again. And I had got this brilliant instructor. I passed my driving test the second time. And so it was sort of middle-ish of January 2006 that I got that good pay packet, and I thought I really want to get a car. So I went to the Vauxhall dealer, and I really wanted a Corsa, because that's the car I mostly learned to drive in, a Vauxhall Corsa. I loved the fact that with the gear stick you could lift up the underside of the gear stick and then move into reverse, so you never make the mistake between reverse and first gear. And they're nice little small cars, I didn't need a big car, and I wanted to stick with something that I was familiar with. There was this lovely silver Y-Reg Vauxhall Corsa, and it was £3,795. I couldn't afford all of it, and I intended to get it on finance, which I got. I think I put down £600 as a deposit, and it was delivered, I think, about 5 days later, because they wanted to put it through the workshop and everything, and I needed to have, they got me 7 days free insurance on it, so I could get so they could get the tax on it and everything. The car was delivered while I was actually at work. I was so chuffed with it. I loved my newfound freedom. I would go out so much in it. I'd never driven on my own before, but I felt surprisingly calm. I felt really good about it. I take my friends out for drives, and of course I went clubbing again. A few months before that, though, just need to go back a bit, I had met someone, and not my now wife, someone who I kind of fell in love with. Not quite, we weren't together very long, but someone who I really liked, and we ended up not carrying on with the relationship after a few weeks, because she was at university, I worked full time, we lived 30 miles apart from one another, so it just wasn't feasible for us to carry on, and we stayed friends, but we didn't really talk much. Just before my car was written off, I messaged her and I asked her out again and said, look, I haven't stopped thinking about you. I really like you, and I would like to really make a go of it. You know, I'm earning more money now. I have a car now. I can come and see you, and I can bring you back to mine, you know. But she declined. The following weekend, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go out to the club again. And so drove out there. This was on the 11th of February 2006. It was a Saturday night. I remember that time as well very vividly, because you wouldn't think to look at me now, but I had been on a bit of a diet before that, about 3 weeks before that, and I had lost a lot of weight. I was actually the slimmest I'd ever been in my 20s, and the slimmest I've ever been since. And I had such a good time at that club. I was on the stage pretty much all night, just dance. Pulled a few times, had a good time, and then I was about to go and get my coat, and then I bumped into my ex. She immediately she didn't grab me as if to sort of like, you know, pull me to one side. She just sort of said, I'm so sorry, I should have said yes. It's been playing on my mind ever since, and we had a long conversation, and we ended up getting back together, cut the story short. It was the early hours of the 12th of February when I drove home, and I was taking 2 friends home with me. Or was it 3? Yeah, I took three friends home. The road that we were travelling down, it changed from tarmac to cobbles. And when cobbles get cold, they get slippery. And when I was going around the corner, I suppose it was similar to aquaplaning. I had no control over where the car went. I'd full locked the car right, but it kept going left. It then hit the curb and then spun right round and was lurching forward. I screamed and slammed on the brake. But before I did, the car had hit a bollard which had snapped and put a perfect bollard print in the front of the car. And where I'd slammed on the brakes, I was literally a metre away from the building in front of me. And on my right side was a tree, like very thin tree with one of those, a post to keep it upright. And on my left side was a sort of a tall pedestal with a statue of the head of a bull. Anyone would have thought I'd have carefully parked my car right in front of that building and in between those 2 items. And even though it was a Saturday night, it was 4 in the morning, it still was very quiet until my crash, and people started coming out of buildings to look at what was going on, and I immediately phoned the police. I was really in a huge state of shock. The police asked me if I'd been drinking. They didn't breathalyze me, but they could tell that I was in a huge amount of shock, and the 2 guys in my car were. I'd taken one home already. They gave me a number for a company to come and take it away, which they did. We were outside there until about 5 in the morning. I'd phoned my mum. By the time I got home, I just needed something really sweet to eat. The police actually gave me some sweets. They asked me as well to come to the station within 7 days to submit proof of my insurance, proof of ownership, MOT. I did that the next day, and I put the claim in with the insurance company the next day. But it wasn't until the following evening that the shock really set in, when I realised that place where I crashed my car was a very, very busy social place during the day. If I'd crashed during the day, I would have killed someone, and I was so upset that could have happened. I know it didn't happen, but I couldn't believe that had happened. And I said to the police, my account of the events at the time was that I thought I'd made the mistake between the accelerator and the brake. I don't know whether that's what I actually did. I might have done, I don't know. That's what I thought I'd done at the time, but looking back, I'm not sure. I think it kind of aquaplaned, even though it wasn't aquaplane, it was just that it was slippery. It was like gliding on ice, really. One of the police officers actually said that they were going to complain to the council because the cobbles in that area, he said, when they get cold, they get like ice. And he said so many people have had accidents around here. And I've lived in that area, in not that particular area, but that was part of my hometown. And I didn't know that was a hot spot for accidents. He said, we've seen people get wrapped around trees and stuff. That's why the trees here are very small with the posts and everything, because things just get knocked all over the time. The bollard that I knocked over was not replaced for 2 years, even though there was a nice long row of bollards. The place where the bollard was, there was bits of wood sticking out. That was raised down and tarmacked over really quickly, but they didn't replace the bollard for quite some time. And my car was a write-off. I knew it would be a write-off. You should have seen the state of it. I said to my mum, and I even said to the police, I'm never driving again. I'm not doing that. I'm not going through that again. But a week later, I was like, I want my car back. It took, I'm not kidding, 3 months to settle that claim. Part of that was down to me. I took 6 weeks to send them off everything they need, like the purchase invoice and the MOT and certificate of insurance, the car keys, the logbook, all of that. You have to send them all off to the insurance company because they essentially buy the car off you when the vehicle's being written off. Because I bought it on finance, they reimbursed the finance company. They actually paid me £100 in compensation because of the delay, which was good of them, I suppose. Another thing which was good of them is that one thing you need to know about insurance is that if you make a claim on your insurance and you cancel your policy in the same year in which you claim, you can't get a refund because you've used the insurance. But if you pay monthly or installments, technically they can chase you for the balance. But back then, I don't think that's something that insurance companies did. Well, it certainly wasn't the one that I did. I paid my insurance monthly. I cancelled the insurance because I didn't have a car anymore. And it was after the claim was settled, or around the time the claim was settled, that I cancelled the policy. And they didn't chase me for the difference. So I suppose that was very good of them. But one thing that I thought was a bit of a cheek was that they reimbursed the finance company the full amount, but there was 99p left over, and they sent me a cheque for 99p. I thought that was quite insulting. That's just me personally, so I didn't bother cashing it. Especially, they said they would, here's 100 quid for the delay in the claim, which I think looking back probably wasn't enough, but I just didn't want it to go on any longer. And so that was basically it. 3.5 weeks, and I wrote my first car off. Oh my God. I didn't get another car until about 4 months later. I got another Vauxhall Corsa, a W Reg, the older version. And this car, right, it was a W Reg, and every time I had to give the registration number to a company, I would always say it phonetically, so I'd say whiskey, and then its number. And the name Whiskey just stuck, so I called my car Whiskey. That was his name. I loved him, Whiskey. Beautiful dark blue W Reg Corsa. He had a low bite, and I call him a he because that's how I remember him. He had a low biting point to the point that when I test drove my first car, smooth, plain sailing, loved it. When I test drove Whiskey, I stalled him so many times because the biting point was too low. I was not used to it. And when we were coming out of a junction, I wheel span him right out, and to the point that the guy that was in the car with me while I was test driving was going, whoa, and I can't tell you how many times I stalled that flipping car, especially going up an incline. I had to really give it a lot of gas, and I had to get the biting point just right. Eventually, of course, I got used to it. But he was a nightmare to drive at first. I had whiskey for almost a decade, paid off the finance for him, and by the time I got rid of him, he was worth pretty much nothing. And we'd moved as well at that point, and 3 times in 3 months, some arseholes came along our road and smashed the wing mirrors of each car. Of course, being a very old car, the wing mirror easily came off. 3 times that happened. And the 3rd time I thought, you know what, I'm not going to keep having this. I need a car that's a lot sturdier. Also with my mum at the time, if I ever had to take her anywhere, the car was very low. It was like riding a Dodgem. I've sometimes said it, like driving whiskey was like driving a Dodgem. My mum couldn't get into the car because it was just so difficult for her, because of her back, because of her knees, because of her hips. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get a Vauxhall Meriva. And that's what I did. Someone once said to me that a Vauxhall Meriva is like a Vauxhall Corsa on steroids. And that's exactly what she was like. It was weird being up higher, but it felt so good to drive a nice, decent sized car. And I tell you something, the boot space you get with a Meriva is incredible. The seats can go down flat. And I remember I was helping my sister-in-law move, and she had loads of stuff. I moved everything for her in one car ride. And myself and my brother-in-law, we were thinking there would have to be about 2 or 3. Moved everything in one car ride. Yeah, it was a bit chocker, but got everything done. Just to let you know what happened to whiskey, I actually ended up giving him to a friend because I didn't want anything for him. I had a friend who needed a car. I no longer have a car. Her MOT and insurance and service and everything was due a few months back, and I couldn't afford it. And we're in lockdown, and I'm not using the car. I'm working from home now. No point. So for the first time since I was 22, this last few months, I've been carless. Lesson of the day. When you drive on cobbles and it's cold, lesson of the day. Drive as if there's ice around. Don't press the brake. Go slowly, 2nd gear, because they can be lethal when you drive on cobbles.